Good morning, everybody. We're going to just let everyone in from the waiting area. We'll get started in just a minute. Numbers are climbing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know we have a tight schedule with all of our speakers today. Well, good morning, and it's wonderful to see everybody, and welcome to our Georgia Bio Legislative Day at the Capitol. This is a very important day for our community, our life sciences industry, and for Georgia Bio. It's been a unusual year this past year, as we all know, and our industry in particular has been working extremely hard in response to COVID-19. We're very grateful to have an esteemed group of speakers today with us, and I'm very excited about our opening speaker, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. Before we hand it off to Lieutenant Governor, I just want to make a few remarks. We're currently on Legislative Day 22 of 40, and Georgia Bio and our Policy and Advocacy Committee have been actively involved despite the challenges of the COVID-19 precautions, advocating and educating on behalf of our industry. Our policy committee leaders, our chair, Carla Kiriakou with Sanofi, and Marcus Downs with Takeda have been fearless leaders as we dive into a very unusual legislative session at the state level. And we've also been, for the last year, working on more federal issues with our counterparts in DC, Bio, Pharma, and AdvaMed. So we've been very busy this past year, and despite not being able to see everyone in person, I would say been more active than we ever have been in terms of educating and informing people about the industry with our policymakers. At the state level, we're very excited to continue to help usher along and educate our policymakers as it relates to the Georgia Made Medical Manufacturing Act and the importance that the Kemp administration has put on our industry. We've had frequent communications with the governor's office regarding that particular act. I was very grateful to be able to testify a little over a week ago on behalf of that act in front of the House Ways and Means Committee. Additionally, Ashley and the team have been regularly communicating with the governor's office regarding vaccine distribution as it relates to our industry. As we know, it's very important for our industry to remain up and active and being able to be on those manufacturing floors as we continue to serve patients and get those treatments and cures to patients. So, and one other thing I would like to draw everyone's attention to is Bio, who are in the state affiliate of, released 100 Days of Innovation Blueprint at the beginning of February, which is really to guide our approach in the coming months ahead as we work towards ending the pandemic and rebuilding the economy in a way that's much more resilient and more dynamic and inclusive. So I really encourage everyone to take a look at the 100 Days of Innovation that Bio has passed down on for our industry to model. So with that, I'm very excited to welcome today our keynote speaker, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. I think all of us know he's been a huge advocate for innovation in our state, in particular health tech innovation, and we're really excited to hear what he has to say today. Some housekeeping: if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will handle those between each speaker as best we can. And also, please note our speakers do have hard stop time, so I'll do what I can to accommodate questions, but if we can't, my team, Ashley and the team, will get back to you. So with that, Lieutenant Governor Duncan, thank you again for joining us, and please get started.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. And I want to take a moment and just thank you for your efforts. You've done such a great job really leading the organization and being a great conduit of information to us here in the General Assembly, and continuing to live in the facts and figures world, which is where I think is ultimately the best policies are made. And certainly your industry has been affected like so many others through COVID, and you can't manufacture your products through a Zoom call. And so working with the state government and working with the federal government and making sure that there's opportunities to still be able to be up there on behalf of your customers and on behalf of the patients that need your products and services. So I just wanted to say thank you for doing that. Wanted to start quickly with just a quick COVID-19 update here in the state of Georgia, and then walk into some of the things that we're prioritizing here during session. Look, we are obviously coming up on 12 months of really facing this pandemic head on. I want to applaud so many folks around the state, millions and millions and millions of people that have done the things that we need to do to try to flatten the curve in these spikes. We've gone through 3 very serious waves. We're now on the backside of the 3rd wave, and hopefully can continue to watch. One, best practices continue to help us keep that flat. 2, the vaccine layering in and really making it a noticeable difference in the infection spread rate. I do think we're going to almost immediately start to see a serious deflection rate in hospitalizations and fatalities, which are obviously 2 things we want to avoid at all costs, just because of the sheer number of folks in the elderly age range that have gotten the vaccine. I think we're well up over 1 something million elderly folks. And so hopefully we can continue to gain great progress on getting as many folks vaccinated as possible. We've got four mass vaccine sites that hopefully will help some of the flow in all the different counties. But Governor Kemp has done a really good job over the last 12 months managing, trying to balance lives and livelihoods, making sure that we continue to are safely operating as safely as we can, and certainly able to still answer the call and do the things we need to do to provide for our businesses, our families, and whatnot. So I am proud to say that Georgia's got one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country in the teeth of this pandemic. And but still work to be done, and we're all focusing in on looking for continued opportunities. One of those is COVID protection, liability protection, making sure that businesses aren't held to some sort of unrealistic standard that nobody could get COVID in their amidst their operation, as long as they're following the law or the rules and regulations. And so that continues to be an ongoing priority of ours here. So with that, look, we've got a lot of opportunities here in Georgia, and you guys, your industry, the life sciences industry is front and center at one of the big initiatives. And I think you've heard me talk about this a number of times, of wanting Georgia to be the technology capital of the East Coast. In everybody on this call, every business, every sliver of your industry that's represented here understands the value of technology to operating today, but also where technology is going to take us going forward. But to be the technology capital of the East Coast, we've got to really make sure we understand the steps it takes to get there. It's more than just creating a marketing flyer. It's really understanding how do we develop that K through 12 system here in the state of Georgia that has those basic entry level skill sets to be able to walk into the next level of education, whether it be a technical school, a certificate program, a 4-year education, or all the way through a PhD. That one gives them the building blocks to be successful, but 2, and what we really find out is access to opportunity. So many kids just don't know that this is something that they're just naturally gifted at, whether it be science or technology or whatever their career path is going to be. And so we want to see as much access in 159 counties as we can. That's making sure that we're digitally ready when they graduate. We're making sure that we have as rural broadband in as many spots across the state as we possibly can, so that no local economy is kind of stymied by just the fact that there's a technology desert in their zip code. And certainly we appreciate so many folks in this industry that have really picked rural Georgia to be a home place to grow your business. And so we're grateful for that in leadership roles, but more work to be done. I have stood up along with some really, really important folks here in Georgia, an organization called Partnership for Inclusive Innovation. And this is a group that's being chaired by Dr. Bud Peterson, former Georgia Tech president. And we have built a public-private partnership of really working around Georgia Tech as the administrative hub. We've gathered some of the best and brightest around the private sector and allowed them or asked them to be a part of our board. And then we use the scale and scope of the state resources to be able to really launch headfirst into real problems. And so the whole goal is to allow us to identify real problems in Georgia, and then use these problem-solving channels, and then we go out and fund pilot programs, and through a grant up to $250,000 per grant. And we have seen an amazing kind of inflow of problem solvers. And our goal is to be able to give them the grant money they need to get up to the point where they're scalable. They can vet out their technology, vet out their solution, and then we launch them. And certainly your industry is front and center. I would encourage you to go to Partnership for Inclusive Innovation and really look at those opportunities. If there's somebody in your space that needs that seed capital to get themselves up and out, or exposure on a statewide perspective. And the goal is to not to just harness that just for Georgia. We want to validate it here in Georgia and then allow those business models. We were to kind of return it back out to the private sector and allow it to be globalized. So lots of really, really neat opportunities there. Look, we're working hard this session. Look, the last 12 months have presented all kinds of interesting conversations here, some really, really hard conversations. And I'm proud of the way that we're tackling some of those. 12 months ago, we never thought we'd be still talking about a virus that was like starting to come in from nowhere. But we are. Social unrest that I was proud of the work of the Georgia Senate and the House and the governor and signing into law hate crimes piece of legislation that allowed us to do the right thing. And I was proud to be a proud supporter of that. And then obviously election reform is something here, and we're not going to get into that conversation here today. But other than to say, I think this is a good opportunity to modernize, but not to have a knee-jerk reaction. And that's not anything I would stand for. And certainly have taken a very public stance on that. But all that to be said, I'm proud of where Georgia's at, but I'm really, really excited about where Georgia's going. I'm really excited about this cultivation of talent, not only here in Georgia, but the attraction of talent and the attraction of investment and the attraction of business models from all over, not just the Southeast or the country, but literally all over the world that are coming here. And I think it's really creating some awesome opportunities. So we're going to continue to prioritize education in the budget. We're going to continue to prioritize transportation in a modern format. We're going to continue to invest in rural Georgia. The governor's budget this year has really put that on display. So we've got, as you so eloquently mentioned, 22 out of 40 days. This will be the longest 18 days of our life. But we're ready to go to work. And before you know it, we'll be done and ready to sine die and gavel out.
Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor. And I think we all certainly look forward to that day too. It's certainly stressful times, but it's important work everyone is doing down at the Capitol. So thank you for your leadership. In particular, yes, the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation, we've definitely shared that, but I'll make sure we reshare that to our community, especially our medical device and med tech division subsector. I think that is extremely relevant for them. So we'll make sure we redistribute them. I really appreciate all your comments on really cultivating talent. As you know, the last 2 years, the state has funded our rural teacher training program, which has made significant impact in raising awareness about career opportunities in life sciences and training young people in the early stage pipeline that our companies really need in order to grow here in Georgia, additionally to attract companies to the state. So we completely agree with that. We look forward to continue to work with the state on training up, especially our rural communities that may not be in a tech desert, as you called it, and really bring these opportunities to them so they can see what they can do with that biology degree, or with just the biology classes they get straight out of high school if they aren't even, or within technical school if they don't go on to a four-year college. There's so many opportunities, and the state support and partnership with the private sector has really made a huge difference in the state and elevating us as a training hub for life sciences. So thank you.
Yep.
So I think I have a couple of questions that have come in that were received in advance. So let me see if we can just get to a couple of them. So you've always advocated, as you mentioned, as for Atlanta and Georgia as a tech hub. Are you currently working on anything to enhance the industry outside of the Partnership for Inclusive Innovation?
Yeah, we continue to look for opportunities legislatively to improve education. One of those was I think it was SB 108 2 sessions ago, where we required every high school student over the next 3 years to implement, every high school to offer a computer science class, really trying to incentivize school systems and teachers to be able to absorb those resources. And some of those are online videos, but to just really start to instill STEM and STEAM all across the state, because we know it's such a great opportunity going forward. And then economic development opportunities in the way that we try to fund incentives, work with economic development's team to try to get those right incentives to get folks here.
Great. Yes, no, we work closely with the State Department of Economic Development and their life sciences lead, who's on our board actually. So definitely important on both of those fronts. And we agree, we've been able to deliver science labs virtually to classrooms across the state. So it's been really interesting seeing how tech helps. And we're even exploring ways we can harness gamification for these kids to learn. So, our industry has a strong ties into the tech side of things. So last week at your at his press conference, Governor Kemp mentioned that they would be deciding who would be included in the phase 1B of the vaccine distribution in the next 2 weeks. Most of our pharmaceutical and medical manufacturing and distribution workers were deemed essential in his emergency order as a matter of public health. But can you tell us if those same essential workers might be included in the phase 1B? I asked because we probably get a question about this once a day from various members of ours. So.
Yeah, so I actually have a meeting today with the governor. We're going to talk more about what 1B looks like. I assume certainly he's doing a great job, and Department of Public Health and CDC and all those folks are working together. We wish everybody could get a vaccine in one day. Certainly that is something that would be a priority for all of us if we could make it happen. It's really at this point we've figured out how to improve our distribution of the vaccines we're actually getting, but we've got to make sure that we get more inflows from the federal government. And so that's as soon as we can get more access to more federal vaccines, I think that's an opportunity. And with J&J and some of the other producers that are coming online with the vaccines, that's going to help take the inflow.
No, definitely. Thank you and good luck in that meeting. Our industry is certainly waiting on bated breath to see what comes around with that. We have sites that are just want to keep things moving and products being manufactured. So let me see. I know we're on time. We're coming up on your time.
Yeah, I just got the note that I'm late for my next speech.
So I'll just ask one quick question. Are there any special efforts in progress to attract or increase investors to fund fund innovation here? Do you know?
Well, I think we continue to be a great place to run your business, and every industry magazine continues to applaud us for that. But it's a great place to raise your family. I think the best thing we can do in Georgia is have a low tax environment, a low regulatory environment, safe communities. Those are things that will, in my opinion, cultivate investments, because that isn't the case everywhere in the country or in the world. And so I think the private sector is so much better at this. The government at times can be good at seeding or setting the initial direction. But my experience being in both the private sector and in the public sector is that the private sector just gets it right so much more. And it creates an endless sea of opportunities. And I think as you watch your industry continue to grow exponentially, that's really our job. Make sure that we've got the right talent, make sure that we continue to invest in the future, making sure it's safe, and especially in y'all's industry, a low regulatory environment that allows people to just execute a business plan that's safe for their customers.
Most certainly. Well, thank you very much. And, I think there continues to be a lot of opportunity here in Georgia, particularly in medical device and even specialty areas such as cell manufacturing. So we hope to support you and the entire legislature in supporting the growth of the life sciences sector here and all its various subsectors as they continue to grow here in Georgia. With that, I hope we also can connect soon offline about that innovation district we've talked about over the last year.
Absolutely.
We have some updates. Well, it's wonderful to see you, Jeff. Thank you again for the time and staying a couple minutes over, and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, thank you everyone that submitted questions. Apologies, he did have a tight schedule. We're grateful for him making some time for us today. So I am going to ask to Christina, do we have our next speaker up and ready, or are we still waiting? And I apologize, I'm trying to.
We are still waiting.
Okay. Well, Dorothy, might I pivot to you since you are already on board for us today? Let's see if we can. All right, apologies, everybody. Doing this virtually, it's definitely a different animal.
There we go.
Yeah, great. So thank you, Dorothy, for hopping on and staying with us the whole time. I certainly didn't mean to have you as a placeholder in case someone else was running late.
No problem. My pleasure.
Well, I'm very excited to have today with us Dorothy Glasser. She is a fearless leader across the patient groups here in Georgia and a huge advocate for those patient groups. She's been very active for over a decade, as far as I can recall. And Georgia Bio is very proud to say that we were part under leadership of Charlie Craig of helping get one of the organizations she helps lead, RX and Reach, over a decade ago started. Working with our patient populations is a huge priority for me and for the organization. We held our first patient advocacy summit last September with great success. And we're looking forward to actually starting having a few patient advocacy roundtables throughout the year, as well as another patient summit later this year, I believe in September as well. So we encourage our industry to take part in that and hear from patients and understand from them their perspectives on why they need to be part, and the importance of them being part of the innovation process from conceptualization through commercialization. And that includes at the earliest stages of research. So we're very excited to have Dorothy to provide some remarks today on some of their priorities. And thank you, Dorothy, for being here.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And yes, we did partner last year to help develop the Georgia Bio Patient Advocacy Alliance. So if you or your organization are not part yet of this alliance, we encourage you to join us. We are bringing together patients and advocates, medical organizations, and bioprofessionals in order for us to develop strategies and actions that are really going to focus on important health issues in the state of Georgia. And through this partnership, we're going to share our concerns and work together for legislative and community progress that will establish not only advocacy best practices, but to look towards the future to confront other health emergencies that we have, like we're going through now with the COVID pandemic. We aim to guarantee that no one is left behind. This is very important to us. We want to be exclusive, and we believe that all treatments, prescription drugs, innovation should be affordable and accessible to all Georgians. So we hope that you consider joining us. And we found that our Advocacy Summit last September, as Maria mentioned, was a great success. During the summit, we polled our audience because we wanted to know from the advocates and advocacy groups that attended what was most important to them. And they said that their most concerning issues were health equity and treatment, including COVID treatment and access barriers, and health policy issues for this 2021 legislative session, and insurance coverage. So we're focusing on those three issues to be able to answer the questions and the needs of those who helped join us at our last summit. In addressing health equity with the COVID crisis, we're working with our faith-based leaders to be able to get into the communities that matter the most, those underserved communities of color and minorities, in order to open up access to vaccinations and COVID vaccinations, and just to be able to reduce the barriers that people have to receiving the vaccines that they need and the treatments that they need. We're also in the process right now of surveying some of our most needed disease-centered organizations who work with minorities of color and communities of color, and with minorities, and also with people who struggle to be able to access the resources that they need. And we're hoping to find out what are the barriers that they're facing, what are the limitations that they're seeing right now, and most importantly, how we can help. So our 2021 legislative session is moving rapidly, and it's a shorter session because of the COVID pandemic. We're not able to be under the dome all the time with our legislators, but it doesn't mean that we're not lifting up the voice of advocates. So that's what we're trying to do here. We are also looking at the different legislation that directly affects patient and advocacy organizations. And some of those include prescription drug discounts, anything that has to do with innovation in treatment and drugs, This is how we got the COVID vaccines. This is how we get vaccines to just keep us healthy. We're also looking at Medicaid and other patient provisions that have been neglected in Georgia. So we will continue to watch some of these bills. And when we do that, the RX and Reach Coalition and those who join the Georgia Patient Advocacy Alliance will receive action alert activations. So we develop toolkits, we give you social media messaging, and we make it as easy as possible for you to contact your legislators and tell them what is the issue that's most important to you and to your members. Just a very few of those bills that I want to mention to keep on your radar and that you'll be hearing from us about is SB 46. The governor gave pharmacists the authority during COVID in the emergency orders to have pharmacists vaccinate people. And since that emergency order ended January 31st, we are now seeking legislation to continue to have pharmacists give the vaccinations. We feel this is also an equity issue because your people know in their communities their local pharmacists. And if they can just go to their local pharmacist to receive their vaccines, it'll be much easier than them trying to navigate the public health websites and phone calls and trying to get to large stadiums to be vaccinated. Another piece of legislation that is critical that we've been fighting for 3 years is HB 164, which will allow rebates that pharmaceutical manufacturers give to patients to actually go back to the patients and not the insurance companies. So in this bill, 80% of those discounts will go back to the patient at point of sale. Also, we're looking at SB 82, which is moving along rapidly, and this is the prudent layperson bill in which if you think you have a medical emergency and you go to the emergency room and are treated, but it turns out that it wasn't the medical emergency you thought you had, that the insurance company will still cover you under that. What we found is that a lot of people were getting outrageous bills because insurers said that it turned out to not be a heart attack, so we're not going to cover you as though it was a heart attack. The other bill that's very important is insurance transparency and prior authorization for physicians, and we want to increase access to care. We want to be able to put common sense guardrails around prior authorization and also increase transparency. We want insurers to be more transparent to physicians and the public so that what they cover and how they cover it is on their website and that we all have easy access to it. We want to be sure that we will have an express lane for people who are not eligible for Medicaid but can still get coverage. And this bill is going to be very important in our state right now. Medicaid is still a hot issue, and we want to be able to increase that as much as possible. And we also want to fully expand Medicaid by giving a public option to those who don't qualify for peach care so that there is some other coverage that they can get for their families and children. So these are just some of the bills that there are many, many more. It would take another hour to go through them, but these are some of the bills that we're watching and that we're informing all of you about as advocates and asking you to join us to lift up your voices. So this is what we do, and we hope that you will join us. We're excited about the partnership. We've been partners with Georgia Bio since about 2012, 2011, and we only want to see that increase in our communities. So thank you, Maria, for giving us a voice.
Of course, Dorothy, that's what we want to do. We want to continue to build a relationship and learn from each other and support each other. So we do look forward to kicking off our roundtable soon with our Patient Alliance. And we do encourage all of our member companies to consider participating in that, coming to with ideas and even questions. Additionally, please stay on the lookout for our September Patient Advocacy Summit. So as we await our next speaker, who I believe, thank you again, Dorothy. Our next speaker, I am going to ask my team if I should continue holding Sally and Ashley, or should I pivot for a moment. Just give him another minute to join before either of y'all can chime in.
I think we could, we could start the legislative update, and if we need to pause and let him jump in, I think that we can absolutely do that. We've been emailing with his admin, so I know he's coming. It's just, he might be running a little bit
busy.
late.
I understand it's a little busy down there this week. So everyone, I'm very happy to be able to have our team provide a legislative update. As you know, a core piece of why Georgia Bio exists is to represent you, our member companies, at the state capitol and support federal issues as well. As I mentioned earlier on, we've been very active this year, and I'm very excited for many of y'all to, for the first time, meet Ashley Haltom, that joined us a couple of months ago, almost 3, I think, as our new Vice President of Government Affairs. She has definitely dove right into session into the industry. We're very happy to have her on our team. Additionally, joining her for this legislative update will be Sally Kilpatrick from Cornerstone, our lobbying firm. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ashley.
Thanks, Maria. And thanks, Sally, for joining me, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that this is a lot different than what we're all used to doing. Sally and I can attest that this is a lot different than we're used to working as well. So COVID has definitely presented a lot of unique challenges, advocacy chief among them right now. But I just wanted to take a quick moment and give an update on where we are. I know Maria touched a little bit on where we are schedule-wise and Legislative Day 22. So we're a little bit more than halfway, and hoping to have a little bit more direction on the calendar. As most of you probably know, crossover day is the last day for which a bill can pass out of its chamber of origin. And we are still waiting on an exact date for that, hoping end of next week. But just to give you an idea of where Georgia Bio is right now, we are currently tracking about 30 bills. It changes daily. If you ask Maria, I went through the tax code over the weekend and added about 100 bills. So it kind of fluctuates depending on what we're looking at the time. But there are probably about 10 of those in which we are very actively engaged and working actively. But we do expect that to change a little bit as we hit crossover day and as bills cross over or die and our focus shifts. Sally, do you want to go ahead and give the RTTI update?
Yes, absolutely. For those on the call, I know many of you are familiar, but one of our priorities the past 2 years now has been a public-private partnership with the state dealing with rural teacher training and in the life science industry. And it's been a great partnership. We feel its first year is very successful. We have hit a few hiccups with the second year. We got our funding, but as everyone knows who has dealt with a state agency, sometimes it can get a little tricky just in the some of the red tape involved in receiving money. And so we did get our money. We are hoping to pull off a program this year. We're just a little delayed in getting it going, but we are trying to work with appropriators on how we can fix that going forward. But we are very excited. We think we will continue to get our funding. We do have some new faces in the Senate on the appropriations side. So we will begin to work that process once the House sends them their budget, and make sure that we are educating them and explaining the importance of this initiative. And it's, you know, great timing in the sense that Governor Kemp has put a emphasis on our industry, as Maria has already discussed at the beginning of the call, as our teacher training initiative ties directly back to the workforce that we are trying to develop, that pipeline that we want to see going into the industry. So this is great timing for us to just, again, highlight the importance of the work that we are doing with the appropriations teams.
Thanks, Sally.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Sally, if you could kind of speak to why it is so important that we maintain these connections regarding workforce outside of the obvious building the pipeline, in terms of building trust and understanding with policymakers, and how it, you know, allows us to open doors around, you know, different types of policy conversations for the industry. Because the workforce isn't always immediately top of mind for some of our smaller companies. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you mean this, how we are developing our relationships with appropriators? And
Mhm.
yeah.
And how that could be helpful for other policy issues. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it's important for legislators to realize the value that an organization like Georgia Bio brings, and highlighting just the need for these types of jobs. You know, they're not always aware of what our industry is doing. And so, you know, this is just one example of where we have implemented a program. We have gotten to many rural districts in the state where some of the teachers just are not aware of the types of jobs that are in our industry, and where they can be steering their students down different paths. And as we build these connections and these networks for the legislators, and we come back, you know, we did a very good, not we, I did not do this, Kristen and the team did a fantastic job of coming up with a report at the end of the first teacher training initiative. We brought that back to the legislature. We walked them through it, and they were very impressed, and it was very eye-opening for them. And so what I think, it maybe tying back to what Maria was asking, I think it shows the value of our organization and working with policymakers and showing that we can come together, work on projects, and see actual deliverables, actual metrics, you know, delivered on what the state's portion of the funding, you know, has been doing. I don't know if I answered that right, but and it's opening doors for our group in other areas. So, you know, I think that it just is just one of many examples of how this will open doors for the group as we work with the legislature on other items as well.
That's perfect. Thank you, Sally. Yes. Perfect. Ashley?
Yeah, well, and I think that that's a great segue into my next topic, that building that trust with the legislators and showing them the value of the industry. I think that that's what we've seen play out here with Governor Kemp's tax incentive for the Georgia Made Medical Manufacturing Act. They see the value in the industry. They see the value in growing the industry. And if I'm correct, I'm still new here, but Maria said that this is the first time in her 15 years that the state has made a really concerted effort to incentivize the life sciences. So this is huge for the industry, even if it's just a step in the right direction. So I do want to give an update. I know that Representative Jody Lott, who is the bill sponsor for House Bill 304 and also one of Governor Kemp's floor leaders, is going to join us in just a few moments and probably give a little more information about this, but I kind of wanted to walk you through the logistics because a few things have changed. House Bill 304 was the Georgia Made Medical Manufacturing Act. That was dropped a few weeks ago. We were very supportive. Maria testified in the House Ways and Means Income Tax Subcommittee, and her testimony was very well received. Sally and I met with Representative Lott and with Chairman Shaw Blackman to kind of fine tune a few things and see where we could increase awareness and help get this bill passed through. Last week, the language was added to another bill, House Bill 504, sponsored by Representative Bruce Williamson, as part of the Georgia Agribusiness and Rural Jobs Act, a renewal of that act from 2017. We didn't really see a lot of movement with that, but then again on Monday, the same language was added to House Bill 587, also sponsored by Representative Bruce Williamson, but renamed the Georgia Economic Renewal Act of 2021. We think that this was more of an optics change than a real policy change, as the language from both bills is identical, and the language from both of the subsequent bills matches the Georgia Medical Manufacturing Act to a T. So we're very supportive. I don't know if it's good or bad that we have several options, but we're going to view it as an opportunity and as something that allows us several opportunities to get this passed through. And I can tell you that House Bill 587, the most recent bill, is up in subcommittee hearing today. So hopefully we will have an update on that, and we will see some movement on that before crossover day. We also have been pretty focused on some consumer protection bills, most notably House Bill 164 and House Bill 73, both of which I think Dorothy touched on. Oftentimes, pharmaceutical companies get a bad rap for charging too much. And the reality is that most of the time it's the out-of-pocket costs that are the real downside. So we are happy to support both of these efforts. I know House Bill 73 actually passed out of subcommittee yesterday. So it seems like it is moving. That's the out-of-pocket insulin cap. So it is moving through, and we are tracking that as it moves. And House Bill 164, I don't believe has had a hearing yet. So we will keep an eye on that. Not really sure if it will move a whole lot before crossover day, but the benefit of this year is that we are in the first year of a 2-year biennial. So anything that doesn't pass this year can still be eligible for passage next year. One thing that I also want to mention, while we have a captive audience of our member companies, is that we aren't entirely sure how COVID is going to play out. We aren't entirely sure how things will change or stay the same once we get out of session. But we do know that we want to continue giving our member companies opportunities to get in front of legislators. So that being said, as we transition out of the legislative session, which will probably be sometime early April, we do want to schedule some virtual plant tours. I know that some of our companies actually have professional videos made where we can send them to legislators to give them an idea. Some of them have done actual where they walk you through, can answer questions. We want to make sure that we're still providing opportunities for engagement and to let our legislators know, both here in the state and at the federal level, what our member companies are doing here in Georgia and the great work that they're doing, and especially as it pertains to COVID response, as it is so pertinent right now. We also plan to continue doing some virtual roundtable or engagement opportunities that way. So we will set some of those up as the session comes to a close and as we kind of transition back into the interim. And I think that was just about it.
Thank you, Ashley. That's great. Yeah, no, I think if anyone who's on the call does have any of those professional videos or wants to engage potentially for in-person tours, I know many of the companies are not letting outside of employees, anyone besides employees go into the facilities, but some of y'all have expressed that you'd be fine arranging small tours for legislators outside a session. Please let Ashley and I know. We'll work to help coordinate that. If you're having someone from your local, one of your local legislators come through, we will, we can help work with you to get that, get that. Apologies, we're getting a message from Representative Watson. We'll work with you to help facilitate that, manage that, and even educate them on the variety of issues affecting the industry during that session. So actually, do we need to give it a little bit long? Oh, Representative Lott's on. Great. Hey, Representative Lott.
Hey.
Great, you're up and running. Excellent. Well, as the representative gets settled, I just want to thank Ashley and Sally for those updates. As you can hear, everybody, it's been very busy this session, despite it being a virtual session for the most part. So thank you, Ashley and Sally. And if anyone has questions for them, please know that they're always available to answer those. Aaron, I do want to address, before I turn it over to Representative Lott, the question you've dropped in around how the state might support small and rapidly growing components of the biotech industry, such as cell manufacturing. As the team's already mentioned, we started with education and workforce. We've, this year seen the Georgia Made Medical Act dropped, and we're making strides towards, I would say, bigger asks, quite frankly. But we will continue to, more importantly, advocate for GRA funding, and as well as into the investment fund they have there. I think those are wins and places that we continue to advocate for. I think there are plenty of ideas that we as a community can come together around and introduce potentially next year or the year after in session. But quite frankly, I think the state has done an outstanding job this year to start to put more focus on the life sciences sector with the legislation that Representative Lott's going to also mention today. And you and I can also connect offline, Aaron, about this issue. So Representative Lott, thank you for joining us today. It's been a bit of a bounce around as we accommodate everyone's schedules. You can hear us okay and everything, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we hear you just fine as well. So let's see here. Let me make sure I have everything up that I wanted to cover. So Representative Lott represents District 122, and she was the which includes portions of Columbia County. She was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in 2015, and is a nurse by training. She spent 18 years as a registered nurse, both inpatient and outpatient facilities within the Greater Augusta community. So we're very grateful to have her with us today. And Representative Lott, thank you for inviting me to testify a little over a week ago as well. And we're happy to hear from you today. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you for letting me join you today. Thank you as well, Ms. Maria, for testifying at committee. It was great. You did a fantastic job, and that really, you made a lot of great points and helped all of us easily understand why this tax credit would be useful, helpful, needed. So we're kind of excited about that. The bill that you testified on, of course, was the Georgia-made medical manufacturing tax credit. And it was following in line with what the governor had done during this COVID crisis with the PPE tax credit. So what it was just, we obviously through COVID have been stimulated to really look at the United States as a whole and how we provide for our own medical equipment and our pharmaceuticals. So that act used specifically the one that you had testified on, the Georgia made, was for the medical equipment and for pharmaceutical medicine manufacturing, and it was a job tax credit bill that would add an additional $1,250 onto new jobs created. It would add it onto the existing job tax credit. So we were kind of excited about bringing that forward, really hoping that we can motivate our companies to grow and others to move to the state of Georgia and to come in and just grow this industry so that we can have our own, grow our own, make our own, hire our own. Looking forward to how something like this really can impact our state's economy and the future of Georgians and the workforce as well. So really excited to drop that. What they did do, and this is how it gets kind of crazy here in the Georgia General Assembly, we have a 40-day session. They're non-consecutive days. We're usually done by the first part of April, for those of you who may not know that. And as soon as you drop something, meaning introduce it, I introduced the bill, so I use the term drop, but as soon as we introduce this legislation, we get to present on it, but oftentimes it changes numbers, it changes forms, maybe some of the language. Well, the language in our legislation has remained the same, but we have combined it now and it has changed bill numbers. It's now HB 587. It's going to be heard again today, this afternoon, but it will be combined with other tax credit bills that we're fairly certain are going to move out easily and get voted on by the House. It has another hearing this afternoon, but I think that Maria helped grease the wheels on that. So I think we're going to do well with that, and it should come right out. And I'll be there this afternoon just to see that process and to help guide it through. But I will not be the author of this new major credit. But I'm very appreciative of having the opportunity to at least say hello to everybody. I have been in the healthcare industry. I met my husband many moons ago now at the Medical College of Georgia. He was a physical therapy. He was a physical therapist, and we own physical therapy practices now in Georgia. and I, of course, have my nursing background and then got into healthcare. I actually came to the General Assembly primarily because of how I saw government affecting healthcare. So this has been a fun role for me, and I've really enjoyed it. And I love that I get the opportunity to work with a lot of bills that have more to do with this industry. But I'd be happy. I mean, if anyone's got any questions, anything that I can help with, either today or down the road, this is just you're just a great relationship for me to have, really for all of us. And I love the engagement and involvement, and the fact that you are represented well at the Capitol, which is really important. So just let me know if there's anything I can ever do for you or questions I can answer. I'd be happy to do that.
No, thank you, Representative Lott. That's great. And thank you again. I know it's Ashley gave us a preview earlier. It's moved around a few different places, the bill, and but we do appreciate you being the governor's floor leader and bill sponsor for the original HB 304. So I do have one question for you. With the recent focus on healthcare with COVID, how can we help promote the importance of growing the pharmaceutical and medical supply industry here in Georgia through Governor Kemp's proposed tax incentive?
So I have kind of a standard speech. You know, we're a citizen legislature. We all have other jobs. And again, this is a 40-day session, and we kind of come in here and we go at it fast and furious, but we are all sorts of people. We are realtors and healthcare providers, and we are farmers, and the list goes on and on of all the professions that we have. One of the greatest things that I think that anyone can do in their industry and yours as well is to know who your representative is. Know your representative and your senator. Politics is a weird thing, but we're really just your ordinary people. I don't like the politics side of it as much as I love the policy side of it. And most of us are like that. So I would just encourage you, if in your communities, certainly in a normal year, we'd love to have you come to the Capitol and introduce yourselves to us. But in regular times after April, we're in our communities, we're at home most of the time. We're having events, either meet and greets or breakfasts. I know a few reps do different things in their communities, but it's really great if you know who they are. So we really mean it when we say we're having a meet and greet. Come, step out, say who you are, what you do, introduce yourself, because as well as Maria did, and we're very blessed. We have Sally, one of our folks that works in the hall here and represents you all as well. Great to have these people, but it's really, really wonderful to know the people in our community that are directly affected by our legislation. And I regularly do get phone calls. I mean, actually every day I get phone calls from someone in my community that I know, because we're doing something that affects their business. And the best part about it is I know who they are. I've already met them. We've already talked, and their opinions really do matter, and hearing it from them. So I think that's the greatest thing you can do, is get to know your representatives and your senators. They're just real people working regular jobs like all of you. And we need a little extra help here to get the explanations given to us by those that are directly affected by our legislation.
No, definitely. And we concur. As much as I enjoyed testifying, I think it's much more important to hear from the companies. So, and I would like to thank the companies that did, as it relates to phase 1B for the vaccine, the companies that we were able to mobilize and have them directly write to the governor's office. So when we make requests of that to our members, please respond. Even if you have a small company, they want to hear from you. It's really important. And we're happy to help navigate that and draft the letters and things like that. So thank you to the companies that participate in that and those that have been supporting the initial bill that Representative Lott dropped. Well, I don't have any more questions for you today, Representative Lott, and I know you had a very tight time restriction as well, but we appreciate you joining us. So thank you very much. Did you have any closing comments, or are you gonna?
No, thank you. Thank you for all that you do in the state of Georgia. And we appreciate our companies and all of the growth and technology and things that we're doing wonderful here in the state. And I'm so thankful that our state is working. So thank you for all you do.
All right. Well, thank you, Representative Lawton. Please continue to stay safe and healthy.
All right.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So, so sorry, Corey. I just got that. Oh, okay. We're continuing to hold to see if Ben Watson will be able to join us. In the meantime, I want to just remind everyone that the COVID pandemic has really been an opportunity to rebuild trust within the biotech, pharma, and medtech industry. Recent data has shown there's been a significant uptick in trust in the industry. There's a lot of work that AdvaMed and pharma and bio have both been doing, and pharma actually, to help raise awareness about the impact of this industry's response to COVID. So I just want to thank everyone that's been continued to work in response to COVID. It's an honor to continue to work within this industry and to help advocate and educate. Me and my team help advocate and educate on the importance of health innovation and how it really helps bring cures and treatments to patients everywhere. Additionally, I'd like to, I think there was one question earlier about the equitable distribution of vaccines and health disparities. I obviously can't speak on behalf of the state, but I would like to say that many of y'all know we went through restructuring last year, and I'm also CEO of our parent, the Center for Global Health Innovation. One of the sister divisions to Georgia Bio, the Global Health Crisis Coordination Center, did announced at the end of last week that they received a $3.5 million award from CDC to them and their partners for their COVID project. It's an information equity program to ensure COVID-19 vaccine information is accurate, trusted, context specific, and equally accessible for all communities and demographics in the U.S. We're very grateful to the CDC and the Task Force for Global Health for this opportunity. Ken Berta, my director there, is leading this along with Dr. Rob Bryman. And as I think we all know, and what Dr. Rob quotes in the press release, which we'll drop into the chat here, it's been clear that a one-size-fits-all approach for communication does not effectively ensure that those who are at disproportionate risk of COVID will accept the immunization. So I'm very proud to say that our newest division is being funded and tackling this issue head on. We have partners such as Johns Hopkins and Morehouse School of Medicine working with us in addition to Emory. So thank you to that division's team and the leads there. And we're very excited to see that those funds come in. So I think what we're going to do is apparently the delay for Senator Watson is he was pulled into a committee meeting. So I still hope to have him join us. As we wait for him to join, we are going to show a video of our World Teacher Training Program results from last year, just to kind of bring everyone up to speed on what that looks like. I will go on mute. Christina? It may not let you play sound. Christina, we can't hear it.
Apologies, I'm not able to get the sound to work.
Okay, well, we can share that also in the chat. So Ashley and Sally, do you think we're going to get Senator Watson on?
I'm not sure. Apologies, everyone. His admin said he got pulled into this very last minute. We're sorry about the delay. I will use this opportunity just to touch very briefly on our social media campaign that we are launching this afternoon or today. So we will be, part of what we wanted to do with this was an education. Even if it's a very 30,000 foot education, we wanted to kind of highlight some of the great aspects, the great works of the life sciences industry here. That being said, we wanted to make it as easy for our members to share that information with their social media networks as possible. So what we've done is scheduled 5 posts on our Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram to go up throughout the day today, each highlighting a different part. Obviously, we will be thanking the legislators who joined us, but also to highlight how many jobs the life sciences industry brings to Georgia, how many establishments, and also the high paying jobs, and why we want to help fill that pipeline from our Bioed Institute. So as you see our stuff today, please like, comment, share. We're also sending a fact sheet to the legislators. We would normally do this as a handout, but because of COVID, they are not accepting handouts and putting them on the desks because most of the House members are not actually in the House chamber. So we are taking a digital approach and getting that to them as well, just to kind of highlight the efforts of our industry and what we've been doing. I do see it's 9 o'clock. Maria, I'll hand it back to you. I don't know that we're going to get Senator Watson at this point, and I don't want to waste everyone's time.
No, of course not. Well, we're going to try and share this video one more time and give him another minute.
Okay.
Ajay, thank you for the tip here to share sound. Let me see if I can figure this out.
What's the next step? So it kind of explains why they.
Sally, can you go on mute? Can y'all hear it?
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Today's event is the Rural Teacher Training Initiative, teaching rural teachers how to deliver the workforce of tomorrow for the life science industry.
We have 72 teachers from around the state from rural public school districts partaking in this 2-day hands-on immersive science training.
Our job today is to get kids passionate about science.
STEM and science, they show us the importance of hands-on learning, and that's something that I hope we can bring across the curriculum in all our classes.
What I'm looking to take back are new methods on teaching. How can I incorporate STEM into an agriculture classroom?
Not only are we learning some hands-on activities, but then between the sessions you talk about how do you use this in your classroom.
And the cool thing about this training that we're doing is we are also providing equipment. So if they don't have these things in their classroom, we will get them to them.
We're excited to be making that connection between education and industry, making sure people know the jobs are there, helping our industry fill those job openings that we have, and just helping the state really grow its ecosystem.
I didn't realize that there was this much technology or biotechnology jobs available in the state, and they're very close.
All right, thank you. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, the screen share. Thank you, Ajay. Well, unfortunately, it does look like Senator Watson is going to be stuck in his meeting. So our sincere apologies for that. Senator Watson is out of Savannah, of course, but he's chairman for the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. We will continue to work with him to bring to educate our industry, and of course the Senate on the importance of the industry, and hopefully as the bills that we're focused on are ushered over to the Senate side, we will be there to help keep everyone informed on the importance of the industry. With that, I'm trying to make sure I'm covering all my text messages and chat questions that I've been receiving. So thank you to everyone that's been able to join us today. I do encourage you, Christina, were you able to drop the COVID press release into the chat function?
Yeah, we can send a follow-up email to everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you. We really appreciate everyone joining us today. It's been very important to connect with you all. As I said, don't hesitate to reach out to me and Ashley on any type of policy issues that may arise. And I did just drop that press release into the chat, and we will also send it in a follow-up. As Ashley said, please take a moment to share our post on social media today. Finally, I will say that we are about to kick off planning for our MedTech and Digital Health Summit later this spring. If you're interested in participating on the planning committee for that, please let us know. We will also, in a couple of months, start kicking off planning for our annual conference at the end of the year. We are approaching our programming this year a bit differently, in that we're going to make our conferences a little bit much shorter and more consumable in this virtual environment. So we really encourage you to get engaged and help us plan these forums so they're very meaningful. Additionally, please stay tuned for some news about some new team members joining us, that will be providing some much needed services to our small and emerging companies in the coming weeks. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today. Thank you to my team for pulling everything together today. And on behalf of everyone, please don't hesitate to ever reach out, but please stay healthy and well and happy, stay safe, mask up and all that stuff. So with that, thank you and have a great day.